when I get a product in for review, I get busy living with it. 1 down, 1,000 to go. Wait, 999 to go. After taking the S25 Ultra through my cat's first car wash experience, a log shooting adventure in New York City, and of course all over my very chilly neck of the woods, I quickly noticed some things about it. I love its more rounded off design. It still feels sharp, but it's noticeably lighter. And when I hand it to my normie tech-hating partner, she says, that's pretty high praise coming from her. But I also noticed that all of Samsung's hard work is being put into virtual features that I only sometimes think to use. And my favorite part of this device, the camera? Well, I'll get into that in a moment. I'm Becca, I take tech outside. It's what I've learned after taking 1,000 photos on this S25 Ultra. Hey folks, Edit Becca here. Quick note, most of the video shot on the S25 Ultra was shot at 30 frames per second, but I edit at 24 frames per second in my timeline, so sometimes you'll notice that the video looks a little bit jagged. It doesn't take away from my analysis of this camera at all. I just want you to know that. And by the way, right now I'm shooting in 24 frames per second, which matches my timeline. So, all right, do with that what you will. Now enjoy the video. So the S25 Ultra has pretty much the same camera system as last year. It's got the 200 megapixel main camera, the 50 megapixel 5x telephoto, 10 megapixel 3x telephoto, but the new thing is the 50 megapixel ultra wide. Because of the extra pixels, you can now shoot 8K video from this ultra wide perspective, which I love because if you're gonna export in 4K, it means that you have a lot more room to punch in without losing a ton of detail. And although you can now technically shoot a high resolution image with this lens too, I'm not seeing much more detail in the 50 megapixel shots from the S25 Ultra versus 12 megapixel shots from the S24 Ultra. And with all the other cameras being the same, well, there's simply not a huge difference between these two systems. And that lack of a huge difference spans to low light video as well, which Samsung claimed in their keynote to have improved. But I'm not seeing a huge difference here, or here. Okay, maybe the S25 Ultra is like slightly brighter here, but none of that is to say that this is a bad camera. It loves to prioritize a face, it applies a good amount of saturation without going overboard, and it can capture a ton of detail throughout all of its lenses. But this year, its camera hardware is not what this phone's about. It's about its software, and in the camera department, particularly software that catches it up to its rivals. More on that in a moment. First, a message from this video's sponsor, Best Buy. Hey bud, welcome to the back end of this YouTube video. Today I'm going to show you my editing workflow thanks to Best Buy. Best Buy, thank you for sponsoring this video. So first, every project needs a place to live, and I work exclusively off SSDs. I usually do 2 terabyte models. This is a Crucial, which is on sale at Best Buy for $128 from now until February 10th. In the timeline, I like to separate everything by tracks. For example, on the bottom half here are all my audio tracks. I keep my VO on the top level. Always. Second level is usually any ambient sounds, and then I put music below that, along with sound effects. And if you keep it neat, when you go to your audio track mixer, you can apply effects to an entire track instead of having to go clip by clip. So you can make sure all of your music is at the same level. You can make sure all your VO is at the same level if it's all on the same track. Pro tip, keep it neat. Same kind of goes for footage. I always have sort of my base level footage, which is usually my A-roll on the bottom, B-roll above that, which is any shots of things I'm talking about. And then I color by adjustment layer. You'll see here, I just have my DJI LUT and maybe a little contrast and saturation up on my adjustment layer up on top. And I'll usually lock that while I'm editing. And then one last thing before I let you go, I want to show you one of my favorite presets. It's called Clear, and it takes out background noise, and it can also reduce voice reverb. So that's how the back end of all of these videos look. Thank you again to Best Buy for sponsoring this video. If you need an SSD, this one is on sale from now through February 10th. Now back to the show. Okay, now it's time for my favorite part of these videos. Photo 1, 2, and 3 were all taken by a different phone. It's either the iPhone 16 Pro, the Pixel 9 Pro, or the S25 Ultra. I'll give you 1 second, guess who you think is who. You got your guess locked in? On the far left is Samsung, the middle is the iPhone, and the right is the Pixel. All right, be honest down in the comments if you got any of that right. Now, it will come as a surprise to no one that while all of these phones take similar photos, Samsung is always the punchiest, while the Pixel is almost always the brightest, and the iPhone, it holds on to the most natural looking contrast. Then on the video front, I'm knocking out the Pixel because its video just isn't as good as the iPhone. So this is just Samsung v Apple here. And this may come as a surprise to some that the S25 Ultra really holds its own in the video department, especially with its telephoto lens. You see, the iPhone often chooses to use what Apple calls its fusion lens over its telephoto lens. That's where it crops the 48 megapixel main sensor instead of using the 12 megapixel telephoto sensor. And there's no way to override this choice. Although when the iPhone does choose to use its 5x telephoto lens, it's sharp, but still not as sharp as Samsung's. Samsung also has a small edge when it comes to resolution. The S25 Ultra's 8K 30 frames per second recording ability provides more detail that allows you to punch in and retain more clarity. My only issue with video from the S25 Ultra is that it often leans magenta, and you have to go into the pro camera settings to shoot 24 frames per second, which does prove that 24 frames per second is way more pro, but also makes it a pain in the butt to shoot in. At night, you can expect to see a lot of smoothing and some grain happening, just on par with most other devices. Staying in line with that iPhone 16 Pro, the S25 Ultra now also has log filming abilities. Shooting in log provides you with a flat profile that allows for more control of the image in post, meaning that highlights and shadows can be better controlled, or a signature look can be applied. What the S25 Ultra has that Apple doesn't is the ability to apply a LUT within the native camera app. You just swipe up on the video and tap color correct. This is great if you just need a quick preview of how your footage may look with a LUT applied, or if you're editing on your phone. But at this time, you're stuck with Samsung's LUT, not a custom LUT of your own. I would also like to see Samsung natively support recording to an external drive. Currently, you have to download the Camera Assist app via GoodLock Labs, which is made by Samsung. And then in your camera settings, a save video to external storage option will appear. Once that is toggled on, while videos will be saved to your drive, there's no indication that this is happening. Whereas on an iPhone, as soon as you mount the drive and begin shooting in log, the USB-C label appears to let you know that that's where your footage is going. This sounds small, but if you're doing any sort of professional video work, it's really important to know where your footage is being saved. And lastly, and this is especially on the software side, Samsung is bringing an audio enhancement feature to the S25 Ultra. Here's a little test versus Apple's audio enhancement feature. Okay, I'm walking down a relatively loud and windy New York City street at the S25 Ultra and the iPhone 16 Pro. I want to know which one takes out the most amount of background noise without me sounding like a robot. I want to know which one takes out the most amount of background noise without me sounding like a robot. It's about the same performance. Now, those are all the features that I've been actively using in my 2 weeks with the S25 Ultra. And you may have noticed that I haven't said the word AI once. That's because I haven't really needed to use it. I could have long pressed the home button to instantly talk to Gemini, and I did once to ask how much the Natural History Museum was going to cost me.
Cost of admission to a natural history.
And I could have circled things to search the internet for them, or add events to my calendar, but I never found a need to. And that Now Brief AI update feature that's supposed to periodically tell you information that you might need throughout your day, well, I left it on my home screen, and I found myself tapping it a lot, but it almost always just showed me the weather, which is helpful, but that's what my weather widget's for. The only AI tool that I used more than, 3 times was the Portrait Studio feature, which uses AI to stylize photos. And the only reason I kept using it is because these results are ridiculous. It just kept doing me dirty, man. But rest assured that all of these AI features aren't getting in the way of the S25 Ultra still being an incredible phone. It may have lost a lot of its S Pen abilities, its camera hasn't been updated in years, yet this phone remains my favorite phone to do phone things with, which is to rot away and watch YouTube videos. And I think there's only one question surrounding it. Is it still worth $1,300? And that's for you to decide. My tech buying advice, whether you're buying a printer, a phone, or a camera, is buy the best thing that you can with the money that you have. So if you have $1,300 to spend on a phone, hell yeah, buy this phone. It is the latest and greatest Samsung device, and it'll have the most security and OS updates. But if you don't have $1,300, then look into getting something that is used or refurbished. The S23 Ultra, the S24 Ultra, the S21 Ultra, the S10, those are all great devices. The only thing that you have to weigh is how long you're gonna have that device. Because at some point, if you buy an older device, it's gonna lose security and OS updates. For example, the S21 lineup. This is its last year of OS updates. So it's getting One UI 7 and then nothing else after that, which is probably fine, but you just run the risk of your phone not being compatible with modern apps. It's the risk you take, but that's still a great device. So let me know down in the comments anything I missed about the S25 Ultra, or if someone's looking to buy a Galaxy device, which one should they buy? It's the S10. We know that, right? It's the best Samsung device ever made. I'm Becca. If you like this video, you might like one of my other videos where I take 1,000 photos with a camera. And make sure you're subscribed because next week I have a review of this little thing. It's been listening to every word I've said for the last 30 days and using AI to analyze it. Creepy? Helpful? We're gonna find out. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. 44 degrees in New York, and there's like all these people over here. Absolutely not. Couldn't pay me. Throwing ice bricks? No.